Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Chaz TV. It's your girl Chaz or Mrs. C or Charity, whichever you want to call me. Um, Today I'm going to do part two of the last video that I did. The last video was about traveling from UK to a red listed country. This video today I'll be talking about traveling back from a red listed country to the UK, basically the documents that you require to be able to come here and enter the country without any hassles. I'll try and be as short as possible. I'm hoping this video, I've done already one before, but I had to do another one because I need to mention a few corrections that I need to do from the first video. I'll address that now before I start um, talking about your return to the UK from a red listed country. So if you remember on my last video, I said if you're double jabbed, you didn't need to quarantine, you just needed it to make sure you had booked your day 2 test. Unfortunately, I have to say that's I got a bit misinformed. I think I was remembering the information is more for Scotland and Ireland. That's where they're doing that. But in UK, it's still people are still the lawyers are still trying to get that one sorted. So for now, all whether you're double jabbed or you're not jabbed, you're both coming into quarantine. So yeah, I just thought let me just address that issue before we go any further, because I don't want to be misinforming people. The whole idea of doing this video is to help alleviate some anxieties that people might be going through when they're thinking about traveling. My apologies if I um, misinformed you. um, so today we're going to be talking about traveling back um, from a red listed country to the UK, what you need to do. So when you're returning to from a red listed country to the UK, first of all, like I said on the last video, before you traveled, you should have made sure your passport has got enough time before it expires, preferably 3 to 6 months. Um, but I prefer 6 months anyway because I like to be safe like that. So make sure your traveling documents are all in order, especially when you're coming back. You have to make sure your visa, your biometric is still valid and that it is actually not expired, especially the biometric card. Sometimes we have a tendency of thinking that, oh, even if you've got an indefinite leave to remain, your biometric doesn't expire. It does expire, so you need to constantly be checking the expiry dates and know the expiry dates of your traveling documents. So before you think you 10 days before you think of traveling back to the UK, you need to make sure that you organize your quarantine. So if you've visited Zimbabwe, maybe say for 3 weeks, when there's 10 days left for you to come back, you need to make sure that you've booked organized your quarantine, where your quarantine hotel, because you will need to go into managed quarantine hotel whether you're double jabbed or not. um, I'm saying you will need to. That is, if you choose to do it in UK. Some people are choosing to do it in a green country. Some choose people you just choose to go to find any green country where you can go to, and then you stay for there. I advise that you do 11 days because when you come back to UK, if you book yourself for 10 days, say in Dubai, um, if you book yourself for 10 days, you might find out that by the time if you come back here on the 10th day, the border control here will say you did not quarantine long enough, and then you find yourself needing to quarantine again, and with a £4,000 fine, because you will have arrived without organizing any quarantine. So to avoid that, I think, to be safe, just organize your if you're going to be doing it in Dubai, just make sure you do at least 11 to 12 days in Dubai so that you don't incur any problems. um, so once you've done that, you make sure, if you want to know the how you can book your quarantine in the UK. I think if you're going to be quarantining in UK for 10 days, the managed hotel quarantine costs about £2,185. That's what I was charged. If you can't afford that, you want to do your quarantine in UK, there is ways to go about it. There is a government scheme, a government fund that is helping people who are financially constrained, to be able to pay in installments. So it's free to apply. You only qualify, I think your only qualification is that you are a resident of the UK and that you've got a job, that you can prove you got a job. Otherwise, quarantine is not as bad, organizing, but just make sure you do it 10 days before. And if you're doing the government scheme one, just be aware that sometimes they take long to answer the emails and stuff like that. I think when you send the first email to CTM, they will send you a generic one which just explains about quarantining for normal people, like with a link to pay for the whole £2,000. I have to be honest with you, I actually went for the one you pay in installments. All I did was wrote an email to them, and then when the generic one came back, I actually managed to just respond to them and just explain that I would like to go on to make my payments in installments, because I've had to go home as a matter of, and I didn't plan it really. So they called me back. I think I didn't get a response like for 3-4 days. There was a holiday in between, so I gave them about 4 days, and then after 4 days I called them, and they said, I spoke to somebody who went through the application with me. They have got no control on who gets it or who doesn't get it. So you just have to, it's a luck thing. I don't know whether everyone qualifies, but you just apply on the phone, and then if you've qualified, you get an email telling you which hotel you're going to go to. But that email I hear, it's not a confirmation. So I traveled all the way back home to Zimbabwe without knowing, because I was only going to Zimbabwe for 10 days and I didn't know. So I had to organize my quarantine, everything, before I even leave. But I had not gotten a confirmation email until I think 2 days after I arrived in Zimbabwe. That's when I got the invoice from CTM that will be telling you again where you're staying, which day you're checking in, which day you're checking out. And so yeah, so everything went just flow. Right now I'm doing the this video from my room in quarantine. Today is day 3. And also bear in mind, when you're organizing your annual leave from work, especially, because I incurred problems with that, because I thought the day that I arrive is day 1, whereas it's not day 1. It's actually counted as day 0. It doesn't matter what time you've arrived, as long as you've arrived after midnight on the day that you arrive, it's still counted as day 0. So even the day that you leave this place, say my quarantine is supposed to end like on the 30th, that's the day. So they will wait for the whole 24 hours on the 30th to end your quarantine. So basically, I will be leaving. I'm free to leave after midnight, just after midnight. So which means on the 1st, really, like early hours of the morning on the 1st. Of which, that's one thing I found weird, because I actually landed around 1, and I would have thought I will quarantine somewhere around, maybe up to around 4 o'clock at least, because I arrived at the hotel about 3 o'clock. So really, I should, in theory, I will have quarantined enough. But obviously, to avoid problems, they've just done it that way, to say midnight to midnight. So yeah, I'll be stuck here until midnight on the 30th. So once you've organized your hotel quarantine, you need to make sure that you've got your confirmation, like the one I told you, the confirmation. There's a form that you can print that has got a QR code that you show when you're coming on your way back. And then you also need to make sure that once you've obtained a hotel quarantine, or which hotel, which tells you which hotel you're going to. There is a number there, a reference number, which once you feel, when you then go ahead and um, fill in your passenger locator form. So you should have your passport, your quarantine hotel in order, your visa in order, and then you make sure you fill in your passenger locator form 48 hours before you leave Zimbabwe or you leave your red listed country. Um, After that, passenger locator form is found on the .gov website. It's very easy to fill in. They'll send you a QR code as well. You don't need to print. You can save the QR code on the phone, and you show that on your when you're boarding and on border control. And also, you need to also bear in mind that if you do come back to the UK and you're supposed to be quarantining, if you're coming from a red listed country, jabbed or not jabbed, if you come without organizing all of this hotel quarantining and all this filling in the passenger locator form, you could be liable to a fine of about £4,000. You don't want to be doing that. So this video, I hope it will help you to understand, to avoid any charges, any unnecessary extra charges that you may come across as you come back to the UK. And also, you need to, if you while you're in quarantine, because like right now I'm in quarantine in my room, you're not allowed to go outside your room, outside that door there. I'm not allowed to go there unless I call security and I organize my breaks. You're given two 15-minute breaks, but obviously sometimes, depending with how many people are outside there, the guys are quite flexible. It's not a jail. So basically they are reasonable. The guys are reasonable. So what else? Yeah, if you do break these rules and you just decide, oh, let me just walk out of the room, there are people, security in the corridors. Well, to be honest, I haven't seen them parading too much in front of my room, but some people who are unlucky, who are close to them, maybe they'll feel like they're in prison. But to be honest, I don't feel like I'm in prison. So because they have been coming, I hear them walking every now and then, but they're just there to keep order and make sure that people stay in their rooms. But if you do decide to break those rules and try and abscond or whatever, you will be liable to a charge of about £10,000, guys. So no matter how painful it gets, today is my day 3 and I feel a bit low. But even if I'm low or whatever, I cannot go out without telling the authorities that I'm going out. There's no going out of the hotel. I mean out as into the back, into the car park where you are allowed to go and walk. So I'll do another video later on talking about my experience in quarantine. I just hope this video, I was hoping to do less than 10 minutes, but my apologies. Don't I've gone a little over, but I just hope, I was just trying to make sure that people understand. Oh, also, when you're coming back, so make sure you've got your PCR test. Like I said in my first video, make sure your PCR will be valid until the time you land in the UK. And when you are in your whichever country you are, for example, in Zimbabwe, there are some PCR tests that are going for $30 and some are going for $60. Personally, I chose the $60 one because I don't want to come back here, because some were saying the $30 one was for regional, is sufficient for those in the region, traveling regionally, like in Africa. But if you're traveling international, you need to actually do the $60 one. The difference, I don't know, because they were all doing the throat PCR, and it's also called a PCR. But make sure you do it the day before you travel, is to be safe. I did it the day before I travel with Lancet Labs in Blawayo. Their results come out in 3 to 4 hours on the same day. So, but I wouldn't advise you to do it on the day that you are traveling, because you might need to check in before you are given your results. So the best way is to do it the day before, and they will still be valid when you arrive in UK. So guys, I hope this video was informative, and that you now have a basic idea of what you need to do to go to your red listed country and what you need to do to travel back to UK from a red listed country. Um, yeah, that's about it. Please like and subscribe my video and like our channel. Thank you so much.